Karen Kharmandarian, your fund manager at Pictet, managing the robotics fund. How do you find companies that suit your investment strategy?
We screen for the investable universe using a global database of equities, and we screen for companies which have at least 20% exposure to the theme. And for us, the theme of robotics is about industrial automation, it's about consumer and services applications, and it's also all the enabling technologies that enable the advent of this new generation of robots. Altogether, we have a set of 200 companies from which we create a portfolio of about 40 to 60 stocks.
Do we find any famous names in your portfolio?
There are some major names that probably you have heard of. In industrial automation, it's about ABB, for instance, that is well known here in Europe. We have the equivalent in Japan, a company called Fanuc, or KUKA in Germany, or Rockwell Automation in the US are companies that are active into industrial automation.
You mentioned some big names, but generally is it more a large cap story, more a small cap story, or even does it go to startups?
Actually, the portfolio is evenly split between large caps and small and mid caps. Large caps provide us with the liquidity within the fund, whereas the small and mid caps provide us with momentum, purity, and growth. But we don't consider non-listed companies. It's only about listed companies in the portfolio.
How many so-called pure players are in that portfolio?
I would say that probably 30 to 40% of the investable universe is about pure plays, and we call pure plays companies with at least 80% to 100% purity, i.e. revenues generated by robotics, artificial intelligence, and automation.
Now, robotics has been recognized as a global megatrend. To what extent do you think robotics is a threat to existing nowadays profitable companies?
Well, I think that companies that are already active and having traditional activities need to consider automation and robotics as part of their business models, because if they don't, some new players will enter the market and disrupt these legacy players. Think of companies like Airbnb or Uber who have disrupted companies like taxi drivers or hotels. The same could apply to many sectors. And typically, some companies have already understood that threat. Think of Nike or Adidas, who have decided to reshore production into European countries and to move their business models from mass production towards mass customization to adapt to the evolution of demand towards more and more customized products.
Switzerland offshore is still an important industrial country. How is Switzerland positioned in the whole robotics global universe?
Well, you have to consider two things when it comes to Switzerland. From a research perspective, I would say that Switzerland is probably at the leading edge in terms of research. Think of EPFL or ETH Zurich, where we have, very famous and worldwide known professors. And one of these professors in Zurich here is part of our advisory board. When it comes to companies, it's more limited. When it comes to listed companies, we have ABB, obviously, which is one of these players, but also companies like u-blox or AEMS are companies which are part of this enabling technology, part of our universe that can be of interest to investors.
Are those part of your portfolio?
ABB is, u-blox is at the moment, AEMS is not, for different reasons, including valuations.
Mr. Kharmandarian, thank you very much for your insight.